Welcome back to this systematic course. This lesson, we're going to look at the work of the Holy Spirit. So we continue our study through and into the Holy Spirit. And I pray that your reading through the person of the Spirit was fruitful. And as we move into his work, the following questions should be kept in mind. Is there any difference between the work of the Spirit in the Old Testament as to the New Testament? Consider this, it's important. There's also a long section on the gifts of the Spirit, specifically in Erickson. And like last lesson, take into account where Erickson is coming from. It would be good to take into your mind or think about as wide a perspective as you possibly can as you engage the argument on each side in depth, and go as far depth as you can. I would suggest that you take a look at the PowerPoint that has been uploaded to Schoology and work through this alongside the notes and the textbook. And as we engage this section, consider the amazing reality that God, by his Spirit, works within us. And also consider how the church is called the temple of God. We are now the living space where the Old Testament was just a temple structure. If you consider that, what do you think the church should look like? How should we act and present ourselves in our gatherings and indeed in the whole world? Because we're the place that God has chosen to dwell. Meditate on these. These are important questions that theologians should be taking time to consider. One last thing before you dive into this section's reading. Since the rise of the Pentecostal movement in the 20th century, there's been much debate going back and forth regarding the topic of the continuation or the cessation of the spectacular gifts. I would suggest a couple of works, if you can get your hands on them. Michael F. Bird's Evangelical Theology is a great section on this. Daniel Trier, in his Introduction to Evangelical Theology, is also great. And I would also just suggest anything by Craig Keener. It is highly enlightening on the topic. However, his big work on this topic is called Miracles, the Credibility of the New Testament Accounts. And it's a really powerful work on presenting miraculous works throughout history, giving credible historical evidence. Now, I know these are expensive. However, a wide and deep library is an investment. So get what you can afford. See what's available on EBSCOhost. And again, engage the debate. It's easier kind of to just pick a camp and not really read generously into the opposing ideas. But this misses out on the critical engagements on both sides of the debate. It's a very interesting topic, and I trust that as you engage it, you will be pulled into that interesting reality. And so with that in mind, I encourage you again to worship as you study the wonders of God.